everybody! I've discussed the culture shocks that Joe and I experienced when we moved from the US to Scotland, but now I'd like to discuss the culture shocks that we experienced while traveling around Europe. Number 1, I like speedos. This was a shock indeed. Some of the men in Europe looked incredibly sexy in speedos, and that's a sentence that I never thought I would say. In the US, guys in speedos are often laughed at or mocked, but in Europe it was much more common to see. And especially when we were in Greece, we were at the beach a lot. Joe and I were both shocked to see how some of those men were really pulling it off. Number 2, how safe we felt in Central Europe. Central and Eastern Europe don't have the best reputation as far as Westerners are concerned, especially when compared to Western Europe. In fact, after the movies Hostel and EuroTrip came out, Bratislava saw a drop in tourism by 75%. Joe was even surprised that some of these countries were very prominent on my list of places that I wanted to travel during our backpacking trip, instead of places like France, Spain, Portugal, and Scandinavia. When you go to these places for the first time, there are some areas where you see the old communist buildings and maybe graffiti, and that can be a bit intimidating. But if you look a little further, you'll know that you are perfectly safe in these countries. And in fact, we felt safer there than, say, Italy or in London from pickpocketers, which are very prominent in those areas. I highly recommend visiting them and learning about their amazing histories. Number 3, even if you don't smoke pot in Amsterdam, you will reek like marijuana for days. For days. It does not come out of your clothes. Everyone will think that you are a complete pothead if you go from Amsterdam to other countries. Number 4, Joe became an extrovert. This was a very big shock, and when we backpack around Southeast Asia, we'll see if it was only in Europe that this happened. But suddenly, my very introverted and sometimes shy husband became an extrovert. After really long days of backpacking where I was exhausted, I would climb into my bunk bed in our hostel, ready to read a book before bed and just kind of crash for the night. But Joe would look at me and say, "Let's go to the common room, let's go talk to people, let's meet people." And I was like, what? This is my husband? It was very weird. He even went on a couple pub crawls without me and made a few friends that we met up with later on. I have no idea why this happened, but it was really fun to witness. Number 5, American music was everywhere. America spends so much money on its entertainment that they create some very high quality stuff. So maybe it shouldn't have surprised us about how far-reaching it was. But we were in countries where not many people spoke English, but they were all listening to American music. It was on the bus, playing at the mall or in stores. It was even in restaurants. It seemed to be everywhere, and it was just a bit surprising and honestly slightly humbling to notice. Number 6, taxes in most EU countries are included in the price written on the tag. This was an awesome surprise. In the US, because taxes vary state to state, you won't know the final price until you get up to the register, they add everything together, and they tell you your total. Unless you're doing math the entire time. The tag will say the price, but then the tax is added at the cash register. In many European countries, however, the price on the tag is the final price including the tax, so you know exactly how much something costs and exactly what you're going to pay. How convenient! Number 7, smoking indoors is still legal in some countries in Central Europe. We noticed this one most prominently in the Czech Republic, but in some countries in Central Europe, it's completely legal to smoke at a restaurant. There's not even a smoking section and a non-smoking section. You go into the restaurant and people are just smoking. We were lucky that we were there during the summer, so we could eat outside and the wind might get some of the cigarette smoke away from us while we were eating. The US still does have some states where it's allowed, but like I said, there's usually a smoking section and a non-smoking section, so you can choose. Now that we're here in Japan, by the way, it's the same thing. They have a smoking section and a non-smoking section in a lot of restaurants. Thanks so much for watching! I'd love to hear your stories about culture shocks that you experienced while traveling. It doesn't even have to be in other continents or other countries. I've experienced certain culture shocks even in the US. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you really liked it, please subscribe for more if you haven't already. And I will see you next time. Bye!